Hey everybody. Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of a cleanup of some information. I haven't really updated the pinned post in the group or on the two business pages, but I do talk about the vaccinations with potentially the luciferase, the bioluminescence enzyme that people are really afraid of, that a lot of Christians are referencing it to be the mark of the beast and everything. And this is a thing that I want to get across. And I know I'm going to lose followers, I'm going to lose people off the Dilly Juice. I don't really care. We have to understand where we came from. We came from a prototype of a caveman. When you come from a prototype of a caveman, you come from a baser level instinct, very baser level instinct, which is feeding, fighting, fleeting, effing, reproducing, and, and that's it. There really is no major innovation. There is no logic or reasoning. It's just straight up hormones and instincts to survive. And you see that in some of your family and friends where they're not really doing anything innovative. They're just doing all the main 4 F's: feeding, fighting, fleeing, effing, and whatever else. And so now here's the thing. The reason why there are vaccinations, because they know that not everybody can handle being exposed to a full-on virus in its most condensed version in the environment. So they have a transition. They have a type of intermediary so that way you can handle the action potential. It definitely does reprogram, but so does a virus. You notice that before all the vaccinations came out, the viruses were affecting people. They were making them feel a certain kind of way. It's evolution. They were giving them symptoms. And that's when people were either passing away or they felt an uptick or they were diagnosed with stage 4 cancer or other types of cancer, disease, and chronic illness. So viruses in the environment do evolve people. And that those viruses could be put out there in the atmosphere. It could be housed in some kind of host type of protein that could live for a while, just in droplets of rainwater, snow, ice. I mean, when people are sneezing and they house those antibodies in the body, and that's the shedding portion of it. So all viruses and all innovation that requires a mass therapeutic is airborne. It's the upgrade to your environment. And so I'm making these connections with Lucifer and Satan as they reside on the same plane. Okay? They are the yin and yang of our universe. You can't have too much life and you can't have too much death, because too much life and too much death equals death. There's got to be a balance. And that's always been the Jilly Juice premise, is balance. And so, yeah, the viruses in the atmosphere, whether or not you get the vaccine, is a type of innovation. The vaccine is just an intermediary, though the government doesn't know that you can. The government is not factoring in the J-Juice crowd. The government is not factoring in people who understand that pain is healing, its evolution. So the government's going to cater to the lowest common denominator, the person who cannot handle pain, doesn't want to deal with evolution, wants to be cured. And so that's why they're pushing the mass therapeutics, of which then, yeah, it might have a luciferase type of bioluminescence that is going to be like what some of the Christians would say, mark of the beast. And believe me, I adopted that a couple months back, because I really had to understand both sides. I got into the trenches with the anti-vaxxers, with the Christian right. I got into the trenches with the pro-vaxxers. And you saw me take both sides of the issue. And really, I deleted people too that were trying to debate with me. Because if you're not understanding the point of view, whether it's the left side or the right side, or, pro versus con, if you're not actively trying to understand both sides, you will never then get to that middle ground where you realize that you can't really take a side. Okay? And so, yeah, at some point, yeah, I'm going to get vaccinated. Now, am I going to get vaccinated every year? Probably not. Hey, Carrie, hey, everybody. But I'll tell you this, is that, once I'm done with my book, because I still feel the variants in the environment. I mean, there are some pretty aggressive, very contagious viruses out there that are not super, like, horrible for me, but they could be really detrimental to some people out there that don't have what it takes to handle it. But I know there's viruses out there. I feel it. I mean, my dog feels it. She has to rest longer. She sleeps in sometimes. I have to sleep in more often than not because I deal with the exposure all the time. Is it a bad thing? No, I just keep having more mental clarity and more awakenings and revelations on certain things that I'm studying and focusing on. But I definitely know I have to rest in between. Sometimes I have to take a nap, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock. So I know they exist. And this is the thing you have. This is the thing, you guys. And this is for you too, Carrie. I think you're new on my Facebook. The reason why any type of virus or vaccine might kill you is because you have a very weak immune system. And what I mean by weak immune system is that the body is not able to handle the action potential to handle new growth as well as any kind of search and destroy, which is building up antibodies to go after things that the body deems as a foreign object. And so when somebody is fearful of their environment, where they think it might kill them, or any kind of element, they don't have what it takes because they've allowed their body to maintain and sustain the weaknesses from predispositions that are in their genetic line. They were not built to last. They were not built to last. And so if you understand the J-Juice protocol, you'll be able to recalibrate your body so that way you're able to handle your environment. And that's the whole point of the J-Juice. This is not a cure. This is a recalibration. The reason why you have an overactive immune system is because you have allowed that programming to take effect and you did nothing to intervene. Because sometimes those triggers of autoimmunity disorders, because you already have autoimmune. Everybody is autoimmune because you can't go in and turn channels on and off manually on a day-to-day basis. You have to rely on autoimmunity. But it's the disorders that you guys are fostering because of your lack of awareness of what it takes to balance out your biochemistry. So no one specific chemical process is going to usurp and override the other. It's about understanding pain. It's about understanding predispositions. It's about understanding everything. And so, yeah, no matter what, you may have an autoimmune disorder now or in the future, but J-Juice, if you understand pain is healing and you can deal with the healing symptoms and you realize that you're going to have to deal with all of your predispositions, J-Juice can give people the opportunity, and to recalibrate their body. Okay, to recalibrate their body. I'm cooking right now. But since people have trained their body not to deal with pain and deal with their predispositions because they're always taking some kind of cure or painkiller or vasodilator or vasoconstrictor because they can't deal with their predispositions, then they are going to then keep sustaining the weaknesses and making them worse. Oops. And when someone does that all the time, especially when you have autoimmune disorders, you're training your body not to deal with your evolution. And so you will have a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will be afraid of your environment. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do drugs, Carrie. It doesn't matter whether or not you're on. Do you know what drugs are? They're basically holistic remedies. You're one of many people that are under the impression that the holistic world is so much different. No, it's not. Anytime you take an antibiotic, whether it's turmeric and honey and cinnamon and garlic, where you're in reaction to your pain, I don't care what it is. When you're doing the holistic remedies, when you're getting your pills and your powders and your supplements and your detoxes and all of your shakes and your powders and all that stuff, you're actually actively suppressing your evolution because you're trying to escape the pain. Instead of meeting the pain where it's at and dealing with it and earning your pain-free life, people are actively sustaining their disorders because they do not know how to face their evolution. They don't know how to face their demons. They don't want to face anything. They would rather just be anesthetized until they're out the door. And here's the thing. I've gotten over all of my predispositions. Now, granted, I have not been cursed to have cancer, disease, chronic illness, and autoimmune disorders. Some of you have that issue that you're going to have to get over that hump. And it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to deal with every single thing that you've been taking your drugs for or your holistic remedies for. Or your cannabis or your herbs. So I had to deal with not autoimmune, but premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is every freaking month I have the worst freaking period ever. Carrie, you need to get my book. Or I wait till you get my book. Everybody has predispositions based upon the fact that they are malnourished. Mutations, adaptation, evolution is all the same. There is no negative connotation to evolution, adaptation, or mutation. There is no negative connotation. It's the fact that you have not understood the way your body is supposed to work. And so every single time you feel a pain or some kind of anomalous issue, you're taking some kind of remedy for it. Or you're withholding food from your body. You're staying away from sugar. You're staying away from salt. You're staying away from fluoride. You're feeling, yes, malabsorption. You're listening to all the different pundits and the truth about cancer. Oh, you got to stay away from this. You got to have an alkaline diet. You got to have your diet's too acidic. Your diet's all this. All your diseases are just your body trying to evolve. That's all your diseases are, is your body trying to evolve. And so luciferase in the vaccines, it's all innovation. But if your body is not strong enough because of your belief system, then no matter what, you're going to have a reaction. And those reactions, it is innovation, it's evolution, but you're going to react to it in a very antibiotic kind of way. I see people who got the vaccinations that are taking Tylenol. They're taking their different remedies. They're taking their detoxes. They're doing all these things to basically suppress the evolution when that actually is evolution, but it's the predictable responses to evolution is what causes people to actually increase their entropy, accelerate their aging process. You wonder why Rick Simpson is aging and degrading? He's the father of cannabis and the whole Phoenix Tears because he's actively suppressing his immune system with cannabis. He is messing with his own biochemistry, with his endocrine system, messing with his endocannabinoid system to bring up the dope in his head to then make it used as a pain reliever so he doesn't feel his evolution and actually stops it. So that's why the people who smoke so much pot all the time are falling apart. That's why they have to keep switching from one strain to another because the body is trying to adapt to that, and then it creates, that's what's gonna kill you, Carrie. It's not that your system, not that your autoimmune disorder is not going to kill you. It's the fact that you're suppressing your evolution with pot. And that's why they legalized pot, because this whole depopulation agenda, it's about allowing people to die with dignity, with a legacy. And so that's what that, and they know this is predictable. They know how people are going to respond to their symptoms because they see people promoting hydroxychloroquine. They see people. No, it's not. Carrie, can you just stop with the comments? CBD is not better. There is nothing better out there when it comes to cures, whether it's herbs, whether it's drugs, whether it's holistic remedies, because the whole point of why you're doing that, Carrie, is because you want to suppress your evolution. You don't want to feel pain. And I'll tell you what, Jilly Juice would not be for you, especially if you're still in that mindset that you can't deal with pain. You can't deal with feeling what it's like to actually evolve, because evolution is painful. That's why there is no immortality in the mainstream, in the holistic allopathic market, because they're actively suppressing your evolution. And so even though they have given you an intermediary, a transition, through the mass therapeutics. That's not a universal, one size fits all. Not everybody can handle the mass therapeutics that are out there, though they say, hey, we'd rather you be protected with something that's an intermediary than face the actual condensed demon in its natural environment. And that is when you have 100, 200, 300 people in a room that has that all have some variant of the virus. It's going to then create another variant, and if you don't have what it takes to handle it, that could kill you. So yes, they have to have these mass therapeutics to give you a transition. And yes, there are biomarkers on them as well, so that way they know if they were to do some kind of test on you, they could see. That's how they know when they test to see if you've been vaccinated. When you go to these temporary companies and you work in a hospital, they take a blood test and they can see the biomarkers in your blood to see what kind of therapeutic you were exposed to. That's how they are able to say, okay, you can work for this hospital, you can work for this job because you're well protected. We know you can handle the environment. You've been exposed to it in some version or another. But this is what the very esoteric side of the healing world is the fact that CBD and pot and all the different detoxes and herbs and supplements and pills and powders and all the MLM stuff and everything that they're talking about in the truth about cancer, that is actually what is destroying people at an accelerated rate. Because cancer is evolution, so is autoimmunity is evolution. A disorder is because you can't handle that evolution, because you've trained your body to be so anesthetized to not deal with pain that you are actually causing your own destruction. And that is the truth about cancer, is they are causing their own demise. And they're asking people to like it. They are programming people to be happy for their own destruction. And so when people are promoting so much CBD and so much cannabis, they're actually part of the New World Order's depopulation agenda, promoting the destruction of their own kind. And that is why I am where I am. Not everybody can do my protocol because they've trained their body to be so anesthetized, to be so in the clouds and in their head, they couldn't possibly handle something as strong as chili juice. Because chili juice is not only action potential, but it is electricity. It is, you're going to feel everything that you're supposed to feel that you've been running away from. And if you're not ready to do that, there's no way you're going to be able to do my protocol. And so that's why my protocol is really for the very few people. It's not for everybody. Though everybody can do it, not everybody wants to or feels they have what it takes to do it. And some will do it for a minute and they get off really quickly because they've trained their body to basically be anesthetized, to just shut down systematically until it reaches their vital organs. And then they're like, oh yeah, it's my time. And they train their friends and family to expect that it's your time. When it's my time, I have my family plot. That's fine, you want to do it, but you're going to have to get my book. You're going to have to watch my videos. And here's the thing, I say no questions in my group. I don't really answer questions on my Facebook. You either can handle the action potential and the pain or not. You either are going to do the Jilly Juice protocol and eat food and not play that discrimination game, get off the activism train because it's going to be completely pointless on the J Juice, or not. Some of you are still stuck in the activist world. Some of you are anti-vaxxers, anti-GMO, all pro-organic, anti-food because you're like, oh, you got to do the ketosis diet, the keto diet, you got to do this diet. You got to stay away from this sugar and that salt and whatever. If you're still in that mindset of discrimination against a person, place, or thing, or an element, you're not ready for the protocol. You have to be able to do the J Juice, eat the food. If you are diagnosed with an allergy, then fine, stay away from it for a minute. But eventually you should be able to eat all the nuts and the peanuts and the tomatoes and the fish and all the things that you're supposedly allergic to. Eventually you should be able to eat that with no problem. And if you do eat with a problem, that's because your body still needs to evolve. And that's actually evolution. When somebody is allergic to something, it's because the body is trying to evolve to adapt to it. And so, yeah, respect the process, John. And so Luciferase in the vaccines is just a biomarker. It's not anything horrible. It's just letting the system know that you're able to handle the environment, but it's not going to kill you. It's not going to hurt you. It's just, yeah, we finally understood that Luciferian is not a bad thing. Luciferian is innovation. It's what gave the caveman the ability to be civilized, to be able to play the harp, to be able to lift really, really heavy stuff and be an Olympian or be a Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or, whoever. That's what innovation has done for us. But you have to be able to handle it. And that's why there's the anti-vax movement, because they can't handle the innovation. They're reverting back to their caveman status and they can't handle the pain. Salt used to be a very hot commodity way back in antiquity, and for some reason it became demonized because then people didn't understand pain. They found a way to control you through your pain. And so when you're in pain and you don't feel comfortable, they're like, oh, we know a way to get rid of it like magic, and they give you an antibiotic. And then you see the vaccinations went from 3 to 200 or 100 because, yeah, the more mankind devolved, the more you have to give more innovation because the more they're devolving, the more they're depreciating. And so, yeah, you see now 200 vaccines. Well, that's the reason why, is because we have so many devolving people. Yeah, your body's trying to live. Imagine someone that's in hospice. They have to be on morphine. You know why? Because the body will continue to want to live. And guess what? They're going to keep trying to suppress that until the body just gives out and there's nothing left. The heart and the brain shuts down. So when someone's in chronic pain because the body is trying to freaking live, and every single time you take a pill, powder, supplement, and detox to suppress that, guess what? You're getting way more behind the 8 ball. Now eventually you're going to have to say, you know what? I'm going to stop playing the suppression of the pain game. Okay? Do the J juice. Eat food. It's going to take a minute. You may still do your pot until you can wean yourself off of it over time where the pain becomes more manageable. But I have people that are weaning themselves off of pot. If they don't get off of pot altogether, there is no way to get off of drugs altogether 100% cold turkey. I know that. So what do? You do the J juice. You do your whatever prescription drugs or illicit drugs. Whatever's legal, you do it until you decide not to, until you feel you don't need to, until you don't feel the need to turn to your drugs. That's the transition with the J juice, is that eventually you'll earn your pain-free lifestyle, and then the pain becomes more manageable. It won't become so unmanageable where you're turning to drugs, destroying yourself. Everything's a transition into the de-evolution, and there's a transition into the evolution. There is no jumping cold turkey from one plane to another. There is a gradual progression to get to entropy or negentropy. Negentropy is where everything is coming together and you're reverting back to what you were when you were younger and together. And there's a transition to entropy when everything is flying apart. And that's where you are, Carrie, is you are in the entropy status where now chaos is setting in. And with that chaos and death, it's painful because the body's still going to want to live and try to coalesce together, but then you're actively trying to suppress it. So while you're doing the J juice and eating a bunch of food, not discriminating, you're going to deal with how you manage your pain until you don't need to anymore. And so yes, Jilly juice can be done while you're in that transition. Jilly juice can be done with vaccines. Jilly juice can be done with pot. Jilly juice can be done with any kind of drug that's out there. I don't care what it is. Jilly juice in the food supply will support you until you have gotten yourself off of those specific addictions that are destroying you. Now, down the road, you can have your fun with stuff. Remember, cigarettes used to be good for us until people were so much at a deficit that cigarettes caused cancer. Cancer's evolution. Now you can smoke cigarettes and get the intellectual capability of really just having some kind of awareness, and it won't cause you cancer. So then cigarettes are just something that is just an addition to your life versus something that destroys you. But why do certain things cause cancer? Because your body's at a deficit. So let's get your body up to speed so you can handle your environment, and nothing will cause cancer because you're growing and adapting at the rate of your environment where you're not at a deficit. Okay, so I hope this helps you out, Carrie. You should get my book, chilijuice.com. I have another book coming out that's going to have a whole bunch of stuff, but at least with the current book that's out now, it's like $15 or so. You can get it at Amazon. Go to Amazon. It's the Evolution of the Jelly Juice Protocol. It'll give you the real brief everything. A brief of the microbiome, a brief of the sugar and the salt, which is the ionic and covalent bonding, not to discriminate, eat the food supply. It has the protocol. Send me the receipt to my email. Okay, my email is on the website. I'll let you into the group, but there's no questions. The only thing you do is you just share your testimony if you want, though people are targeting people and they're screenshotting and being stupid. A lot of trolls in there, but who cares? Or you can send me an anonymous testimony, or you can post your ferments in the group and show people and say, hey, does this look good? We all like, yeah, that's great. Some people have too much cabbage. We say, okay, less than the cabbage. You want to make it juicy. And that's how we support. You don't have to be out there telling everybody your story unless you can handle the criticism, because there's going to be. You're going to get private messages. You're going to get people stalking you. So you will have to figure out what you can handle as far as putting yourself out there publicly. But my group is there that if you wanted to, if you're in my group, okay, great. I don't know if you are. You might. I don't recognize your name, so you look new to me, so I don't know. But I know everybody. I just know certain few that are more active than not. But anyway, so that's all I'm going to say. But if you haven't gotten my latest book, you should get it. That explains to you at least the Cliff Notes version, but it's not super complete. That's why I'm writing another book. And then on top of that, there's going to be another Cliff Notes version that's going to be even more complete. Okay? But Luciferase is not a bad thing. It actually is a representation of innovation. It's a representation of knowledge, of light. And if you can handle the light, okay, Carrie, if you can handle the light, you got everything going for you guys. Everything going for you. But if you can't handle the light, then yeah, you won't be able to handle your environment regardless. And so this is where we have to understand that Lucifer is not actually an enemy in the Bible or an enemy in Greek mythology. He actually is the good guy. And then Satan is just someone to say, okay, well, if you don't want to deal with your evolution, you don't want to deal with predispositions, I have a place for you too. It's called Hades. It's called the Prince of Darkness. It's called Death and Chaos. And Satan is very much out there too, working in conjunction with Lucifer. But just like yin and yang, even though they're not the same, they're diametrically opposed, they still work together because they still give you a choice. The darkness or the light. It's your choice, chocolate or vanilla. You choose. You sell your soul and then end up being with Satan, or you can understand how it all works and be part of the light. Right, Sugar? Say hi to everybody, Sugar. Say hi. She's a good girl. My doggie is the bringer of light, because she definitely deals with the lightning bolts sometimes. All right. So glad to see you, Carrie. Glad to see all of you guys. John, everybody, Kirsten, everybody. You guys are amazing. Thanks a lot for listening. But I'm telling you, I'm going through my own evolution, as you all are too. And I hope it sticks. I hope you can see it through. Because once you do see it through, the benefits outweigh all of the negativity that's out there. You can tell who can't handle the J-Juice process because they're very vocal about it. And it's a jealousy too. If you can't handle the J-Juice, you're jealous of those that can, because you know what's waiting for you. And when you know what's waiting for you, that sucks. But you can handle it. Even those that think they can't handle it, they can handle it. They just don't know it. They just need more information, of which I'm doing the best I can to give them more information. But I can only do so much. At some point, they're going to have to take responsibility. All right, have a good one. Bye.